Today's episode is about senior assisted living. You know, in this industry, the creative real estate investing industry, there are so many ways to make money. But sooner or later, one jumps out at you and grabs hold of you. For Gene Guarino, that model was the assisted living model. I recently interviewed Gene about assisted living, and it was a real eye-opener. There is a huge demand, and there is a huge need, which means there is a huge opportunity. Please watch this interview about assisted living and see if it's for you, because if it is, there might be a big pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and you'll be helping a lot of senior citizens that desperately need people who care and want to take care of them. Before we start, I want to give you a link so that you can get to the show notes. And if you want to watch the entire interview, you can. But more importantly, you can get over to the show notes for this podcast and you can collect the information you need if you want to go forward and learn more. So I want you to go to 1000houses.com/RAL. And I'll see you at the end of the interview. This is Mitch, and welcome to the 1000houses.com podcast. I'm here with Gene. Oh, I needed to ask exactly how to say it. Guarino?
Yeah, that's close enough. Guarino. You got to use your hands to really get it out, but
Guarino. I have to say it like that. Okay. I usually ask beforehand, especially if it's kind of a little different, but I got lucky and got it on the first try. So we're going to be talking about residential assisted living today and how to make $1 at that, and also how to take care of some people that need to be taken care of right. So, because I suppose it can be some trouble if you don't do it right. Right?
Yeah. True. I'll show you how to stay out of trouble, but you bet.
Yeah. That's half the battle sometimes, just making sure we don't get in trouble. I'd like to thank my sponsor for this podcast, livecom.com. That's LIVECOMM.com. You buy your phone numbers there, and every phone number's got a text distribution list attached to it. And if anybody calls that phone number from a cell phone, it gets put into that text distribution list, and you can text it. That and so much more. Just go to livecom.com, LIVECOMM.com, and watch the video on the homepage. I'll show you why I average 12% down and 9 days on the market for my seller financed homes. That's about 70% of the reason right there is that capability. All right, finish paying the bills, Gene. You're in Phoenix, Arizona, you said, right?
Yes.
All right. Is it hot there right now?
It's beautiful right now. I was out playing golf and it was about 65, 70. So it's a beautiful time of year. And that's cool for us.
Yeah, I got down to 47 and we all have our parkas on over here.
Yeah, at night it gets cool. We were outside playing poker last night and we were all a little bit cold. It was about in the 50s.
Okay, so give us a little bit of your background and then we're going to jump right into this topic because I know this is a popular topic and you can make some really good money at it if you're good at it. You just need to know what you're doing. So give us a little background.
Sure. I actually got started in real estate when I was 18 years old, a lot younger than a lot of people. It was
2 years ago?
A few years ago, you bet. And it really was a different route because I was a professional musician. We had a music school, recording studio, small record label. We were renting a property for 2 years, ended up saying, that's it. We're either shutting it down or we've got to get our own. Bought a home, no money down because we had no money, no credit, no clue. Then we did fix and flip, some buy and hold. Segue 40 years later, now I do just one thing. We turn single family homes into this residential assisted living model. And it's been a lot of fun, a lot of journey in between there, but that's my brief history.
Well, so isn't that quite the story? I mean, there's so many ways to make money in the real estate industry that sooner or later, one really grabs your attention. You really have a passion for it or whatever, or most likely you think, not everyone's doing this, so you get in. Later on, you might find that it's very popular, but at least you didn't know while you were, boning up on it. So tell us about your first assisted living place. How'd that come about?
Well, it was about 7.5 years ago now that I said I want to get into this industry. There was nobody to show me how to do it. So the only way I could do it is to buy an existing one. So I bought the real estate and the business combined. It was $500,000. The real estate was valued at 450, so the business was $50,000. That's really inexpensive for buying a business, but there was reasons why that was the price. Bought it using other people's financing, purchased it, and then as I got into it, I had learned and dissected and figured out what was right, what was wrong, what was good, what was bad. Within 6 months, I bought another property that I now converted from scratch into this model, and we did it again. And along the way, we've taught a lot of people, and it's something that's needed, but not a lot of people really understand what it is when I say residential assisted living.
Okay, so did we sufficiently define residential assisted living, or do we need to jump into that?
Let me just go into it a little bit. Kind of two parts involved. One is the real estate, one is the business. So a lot of people look at this and say it's a real estate play, and it can be, but it's a single family home in a residential neighborhood starting there. It's not multifamily, not a hotel, it's not commercial, it's residential. When I say converting it or using it for residential assisted living, it's a group home for the elderly. So it's not a significant amount of changes to the home, but a lot of our students actually do to make them upscale, luxury, more functional for that. It's not the Golden Girls, but it's not a nursing home. It's somewhere right in between. This residential home, 24-hour care is provided, but it's not doctors and nurses and gurneys.
Yeah, it's just people just need assistance. They don't need you to watch over them, or
Well, it's 24-hour care, but it's not medical. That's the key.
Okay, I get it. So, do you give them meals and everything?
Yeah, all of their needs are taken care of. Nobody moves into assisted living unless they need assistance. So if you're retired, you move into a retirement community, age restricted, adults only, golf, pickleball, tennis. In assisted living, the only reason you move in is because you need help, but you're not ready for a nursing home. It's not medical help. You just can't be home alone, or the family can't give you 24/7 care that you may need. This way, it's that group home for the elderly.
See, I was so burnt out on real estate at one point in my life. I was going to move into an assisted living, and I didn't need anything. I just didn't want to do anything anymore. I just wanted everyone to wait on me for like 6 months. Wasn't even going to move. Put food in my mouth. I was so fried. Uh, so, how many places do you have now?
Right now, I've sold the businesses. I own the real estate. I lease it back to the businesses. In addition, I invest in. So I talk about beds, and we're currently involved in about between 200 and 300 beds across the country that are either up and running or in development. We actually started a franchise and launched at our national convention in October as well. So it's growing and expanding across the country.
So there you go again. You morphed from owning it to just leasing out the property to operators, and kind of, I don't know, you relieved yourself of some duties,
Oh, a lot. Here's the deal, Mitch, is that with these homes, they're not just your normal rental home, 3 bed, 2 bath, 1,800 square feet. They're typically a bigger home in a nicer area that people couldn't just cash flow. But when you're leasing it to somebody who's operating the residential assisted living, you can charge anything you want and anything they're willing to accept. So I always say twice the market rent with the long-term lease. So imagine having a home that you'd normally rent out for $2,000. Now you can rent it out for $4,000. Or instead of $4,000, you're renting it out for $8,000. Instead of a 1-year lease with a family that's going to trash it and move on, now it's somebody who wants a 5-year lease, and they never want you to kick them out. If anything, they want the option to buy it from you.
Yes. And then do you have, I suppose there's some restrictions in some areas that would not allow you to do that. So you got to look for places that it's allowed. Is that right? How strict?
Yeah, it's really understanding what the Federal Fair Housing Act does allow. In this case, it works in our favor because you cannot discriminate against the elderly and disabled, et cetera. So the elderly actually fit in that description. So even if the homeowners association says you can't have more than 4 unrelated adults, or you can't operate a business out of your home, this is outside of that. So the understanding of that case law and how to present it, you can do it in a very nice neighborhood, and you can do it in virtually anywhere. But we also don't want to have problems if we don't need to. So we're looking for the best areas, the right rules and regulations, understanding them, and know how to get through those challenges when they come.
I know some people that are really excited about this business, and they do quite well.
Hmm.
Do you know a guy named Steve Driscoll?
Steve Driscoll. Sounds familiar, but maybe a musician I'm thinking of when I heard Driscoll.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I've been writing songs for about 40 years. I'm gonna get good at it any day now. I played the drums for 22 years, and the last bastion of my childhood is writing songs, and I write songs almost religiously. It's kind of how I vent. You know what I mean?
Love it.
It's how I shift gears and disappear into la la land because I can make that story end however I want when I'm writing it.
Ooh, that's pretty cool. I like the way that you said that. That's neat.
So, the people I've talked about, they did the same thing. They got it up and going, and then they leased out the land.
Mhm.
It takes a special kind of person to want to operate, right? I mean,
Yeah, it's not, I never went into this to be the hands-on operator. I've never been a manager or a caregiver. That's not what I do. As a real estate investor and as a business owner, I understand how to know the right location, the demographics, how the business works. You find the manager, they find the caregivers, the training, retaining, and all of that is up to the manager. But a lot of people really don't get a clue there, Mitch. What I mean that is they say, well, gee, if you own that business, residential assisted living, and if a caregiver calls off, that means you have to go in and fill in a shift. And that's like thinking the person who owns the hotel is going to run in when the cook doesn't show up. No, the manager figures it out, not you. So
yeah, it's people have these they're limiting thoughts. I mean, and we all have them. We're all limited at some level. You know what I mean? Because there's always another level to go. But you know, I had a DPS pull me over the other day. He said I had to give him my concealed handgun license and my license because it's required by law that I show them both at the same time.
mhm.
And he goes, "So you have a handgun?" And I said, "Yeah, at least." He goes, "What do you mean at least?" I said, "I think I have two or three." He goes, "You think?" And I said, "Well, I know I have one in the console. I might have one or two under the back seat and have a king cab truck." He goes, "So let me get this straight. You got three guns, you think, but you're not sure, and you're not sure where they are." He says, "Are they loaded?" I said, "I am sure of that. If they're there, they're loaded. I'm sure of that." He goes, "But you don't know where they are." And I said, "No, sir." He goes, "Does that seem strange to you?" And I said, "Oh no, it gets way worse than that." He goes, "How does it get worse than that?" And I said, "I own 300 houses and I have no clue where they are."
Did he get your joke, or did you spend the night in jail? That's all I
I
want
have 300 houses and I have no clue where they are. And no, he started laughing. Then we got in a long conversation about, he ended up giving him one of my books and he let me go. They
Yeah.
actually like people with concealed handgun license because, you don't just get one of those because you're nice. You get one because you got a clean record and a bunch of other stuff, so.
Sure. That's a good point.
So, you have a book out. What's the name of the book?
The latest book is called Blueprint. So
All right.
Blueprint, right there, how to start your own residential assisted living business.
All right. Now, folks can get a handle on that book or get that book right for free. Is that right?
Yeah, you're going to give them something in the show notes, and because you asked, we're going to give them a free gift. So thank you, Mitch.
Well, I appreciate that too. I always try to get a little something, and it's good for you too. Get them kicked off because they may not
Sure.
really understand. It's quite a lucrative business, from what I understand. I have not done it, but I have seen properties that I was looking at that I called up people that do it and sold it to them because we can only do so many things, and I got to try to stay in my lane sometimes. And as much as I like to try all this stuff, I learned that I'm better if I just stay focused on what I do good.
Amen.
So go to Go to 1000houses.com/RAL, and that stands for Residential Assisted Living. So 1000, that's 1000houses.com/RAL for Residential Assisted Living. And there you'll get a digital copy or whatever. I don't know. You'll be hooked up. And also, whatever we're talking about and all the connections to Gene here, they'll all be back over there. So do you offer courses or something on this or?
We do. We've actually trained thousands of people over the last 6-7 years, and we love to do that. We're now actually doing virtual trainings as well as the in-person. So they're both exciting. And there's so much to learn. You said this at the beginning, and I want to give it its full weight. The idea of, if you know what you're doing, you're doing well. But if you don't know what you're doing, this is not something to dabble in or just dip your toe in. I want people to learn before they get started. It's really important. And you have a tremendous opportunity, as you said, to make money. We call that doing well, but doing good, helping other people. That's our whole motto, is do good and do well.
Yeah, you couldn't be in that business if you didn't want to help people, because if you'd be in the wrong place. So, there's a responsibility that goes with that. Just like anything, I sell or finance houses every month to people. I have a responsibility to adhere to Dodd-Frank and some of the regulation in the state and federal laws. So just to make sure everybody's getting what they think they're getting, and make sure it's straight up. But it sure is nice to sleep at night, though, when you know that you've studied under the pros. The pros are telling you there shouldn't be any surprises. You got your I's dotted and your T's crossed, and there's a certain amount of peace of mind. There's a certain amount of peace of mind that comes with, when I got in the business, I learned from the street, right?
Exactly.
Never any peace of mind, because I never really knew if I was doing anything right. I should have never done it like that.
I'm laughing because I would much rather learn from somebody else's mistakes than my own.
That's what I mean. I had to do it all the hard way. I mean, that was 25 years ago. And then, granted, education wasn't as readily available, but you could have still found some really good education still than Dave Del Dotto and Jimmy Napier and people, probably
Wow.
Grand, as old as he is. Ron, I love
That's
Ron.
funny. You're bringing out some of the OGs of the industry right there. So it's interesting.
Lou Brown, some of the old standards, Dave Del Dotto. I think half of them went to prison, before it was all over with, but usually for tax evasion or something. Not nothing gruesome.
Yeah.
All right. So when you have boot camps or conventions, or one annual convention, or tell me about how you educate people.
Sure. We actually do. Well, first of all, the book that you're going to allow them to get with your show notes is a great place to start. But we do a 3-day training, and we do it that way, by the way, because there's so much to teach, but your head can only fit just so much. So the 3 days is kind of an immersion class, and we do it on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it's virtual, online, or we do it live in person. People fly into Phoenix, Arizona. We do that 8 times a year. The classes are always full, and people come from literally all over the world. Mostly the US, but Canada, Philippines, Australia, it's pretty incredible. In addition to that, we have a national association, the REL National Association, which has a national convention. We just had the 4th annual national convention. There was, 1,000 people there virtually online. We're looking forward to getting together again next October. And we do so much more, but we're pretty much doing
1,000 people virtually.
Yeah, that's pretty good to be able to do it that way online, to have such great education, and then all those people participating virtually. It was really great.
So you really have an educator's heart.
I'm a teacher by nature. I love to see the twinkle in somebody's eye, and I love to see when a student does it, and all of that. My father was a college professor. My mother taught nursing. I didn't even graduate from college. I went for a semester, but I've been a business guy my whole life.
Yeah, me too. I tell everyone I graduated from La Calle U. How's your Spanish? The street, La Calle, the street in Spanish. And some people get it and some people don't. I'm actually going to make a college ring that says La Calle U.
I like it.
University. Just because I earned it. That's the most expensive college in the whole wide world. It'll take everything you have and spit on you.
And your time. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't suggest it at all. I'm proud I survived it, but I'm not proud that that's how I went about it, because I really shouldn't have. So go to 1000houses.com/RAL, get the free book called Blueprint, learn about how you might get involved in the residential assisted living business.
There you go.
And not have to figure it all out by yourself. Get with some pros. That's the one thing about teaching those classes, and even like me having this podcast or whatever, you think you know just about everything, and then you start talking to people and you start picking up a whole nother set of stuff, because it's hard to be everywhere at the same time and have experienced everything. But when you start talking to students or audiences, you can get a lot from them, right?
Yeah. Well, it's having an open mind. I think if you're constantly in that mindset of I want to grow and learn, and God gave us two ears and one mouth for a reason. If we listen twice as much as we speak, we're going to learn a lot more.
I really need to study that sentence a little bit harder because I could be so much smarter if I just shut up. Oh. It's not even funny, Gene. It's not even funny.
Hey, that's it. I mean, I walk into rooms. I remember I was at dinner with Robert Kiyosaki, and at one point he just turned to me and he said, "So what are you thinking?" Because I usually I'm just going to sit quiet and I'm going to listen, and I'm sitting there intently. And I shared a little something with him, but I could tell he was intrigued because I'm the only guy who's not sitting there blabbing about everything I do or this, that, and the other. He's just like,
and you got to watch those quiet guys. Those quiet guys will sneak up and bite you. I mean,
no, they're going to learn everything about you because they are willing to listen and take the time to absorb it.
I want to take a moment to interrupt this interview. We're going to go right back here in just a second. But in the meantime, would you please consider hitting that like button and that share button? And if you haven't subscribed, let's subscribe. Now, let's get back to that interview. Yeah, so tell me one of your highs in the business. What's one of your biggest highs?
Wow. I would say one of my highs is when literally at our national convention, somebody comes up that I've never met before, and they did our home study course or something, and they come up and just say, "Thank you. You changed my life." And you know what that feels like when you're sharing from the heart what you've done, somebody listens and they do it and it changes their life. And then they start telling the stories about how they're helping these seniors. One of our instructors, he's a student who's now an instructor. His name is Jamie, and he showed me a video of his little son, Porter. Porter's 2 years old. And this little kid, just a sweet little kid, was helping this grandma in one of these homes. And the smile on her face was just magical. And then he shared with us that she had actually the daughter shared with him later when he showed her that video, that the grandma had not smiled or spoken in 2 years. And the little baby, the interaction between those two brought out the smile, brought out words, and it brings me to tears just thinking about it. So
yeah, that is a neat story. That's, we ring the bell around here when people reach their financial independence and can quit their job and devote 2,600 hours of the year to themselves and to becoming who they're supposed to be. That's what we do, and it is emotional rewarding because if I made another $1 million in the next 5 minutes, it's not going to change what I eat, what I drink, where I live, what I do. It's not going to change anything. So there has to be a higher reason at 60 years old and 25 years of house buying and selling, so it's got to be something else. And so I hear that's what's coming through with you, is got to be a higher reason, right?
Yeah. In addition to that, if I were to add a second one, it's that I'm also working with my own family. And when I say my own family, it's my grown kids. They're 23 to 32. And my three oldest out of the four, they work with the company. They're the COO, CFO. My son-in-law is chief marketing officer. One of my daughter-in-laws is the operations manager. So, and it's not gratuitous and it's not nepotism. These guys are rock solid. They're so good. But to get to spend time with the kids past that first 18 summers of growing up with little kids has been incredible. So that's powerful stuff.
Well, I work with my family too for a long time. It can be challenging too at times. You have to. I've had mixed emotions about working with family before, but it's all fine now because it's all settled. But in the beginning days, it was kind of tough. I always tell people to think twice about, because it's hard. You sound like your family really performs. So if they're really performing, for anyone who performs, it's not an issue. But if you have people that aren't performing, it's really hard to fire a family.
Oh yeah. My daughter-in-law, who's the COO of the company, my daughter, not daughter-in-law, my daughter, she had to fire her own mother-in-law, and it was talk about tough. But
that's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear about it all the time too. People catch their relatives embezzling, or
she didn't do anything wrong. It just wasn't a good fit.
No, I'm saying it can get really bad. Anyways, The other thing, though, sometimes I talk to people about think about before you have family, because depending on where your family is in the growing up stage, if everyone in your family is working in your business and you all want to go on vacation together, because that's the whole point of owning a business, then your whole business is shut down because everybody's got to go with you that's running the thing. So I don't know. I never have been able to avoid having family in mine though, because they're the ones that care the most and pay the attention the most. It's not just a job to them. It's more. So
Yeah. And actually, it's really interesting is we actually do travel and vacation together. We were two of my daughter and son and their spouses were all with us, went to Nashville for a week for a wedding. So one of my brothers, my nephew is getting married. We all went out there, we rented a place and we hung out together. So we do peel away and go. And anytime we can get the whole family out together, we just rent big Airbnbs and we just have a great time.
Yeah, and it really helps when you have your systems and you start to run a real business, because the complications were when we all had to be boots on the ground, and that's hopefully I've outgrown that. We've all outgrown that. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
So if these guys get a copy of that free book, Blueprint, they're going to start out from the very beginning. Is it basic? Does it start you from zero?
Yeah, that book itself, actually, that was my latest book. And I really wanted to give people an idea of how I got started. You asked me the question at the beginning, but where did I start? What is this industry and what is the future opportunity of it? And then from there, we lay out the blueprint of here's how you do it. And somebody said it to me once years ago. They said, Gene, what you do is you just take a single family home, fill it with gold folks, get a babysitter, and you walk away. And I'm like, no, that's not what we do. There's so much more to it. So we really kind of lay it out, but it's the basics. And then from there, if somebody wants more information, we'll give them access to this too as well. Since you're so generous, we're going to do it. Some webinars that they can watch to get more education. And then at that point, if they want to just have a phone call to talk to somebody on the team, they can do that too. The training is awesome, but I want people to get information so they can decide if it's right for them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's perfect. So go to 1000houses.com/RAL for residential assisted living. It's been really nice talking to you. Anything you would want to say to someone who's contemplating or looking for that thing to get rid of their job, or looking for that side gig, so that side hustle, so they can get free? What would you say to them?
Yeah. And I'm so glad you asked that question, because I think right now, especially, Mitch, there's a lot of people that are making new decisions in their life. They're looking at things, and some of them have been sequestered in their own home or let off from their job, and they're questioning, are they on the right path? And I'm just going to highly encourage everybody who's listening. You really have to find something that you are passionate about. You're going to get good at something. You're going to put your 10,000 hours in, but you better be passionate about it. And it's not just about the money. You heard Mitch say, and I totally agree, if you made another $1 million in the next minute, it wouldn't change anything, because he's living his passion. You should be living your passion as well. And when it comes to the residential assisted living, just think forward, not backwards. Lots of things worked 5-10 years ago, whether it be REOs and whether it be short sales and foreclosures, but 10-20 years from now, the seniors, the baby boomers, have been driving the world's economy for 70 years. Their last stop is assisted living, and you're all going to get involved one way or the other, either in the real estate, the business, or you or a family member is going to be lying in a bed writing a check to somebody who does. So you may as well learn all you can and choose how you get involved, and this is a great way to do it.
That's a fine point. I once heard the baby boomers population described as a basketball moving down a garden hose.
That's a good description.
Oh, it just affects everything when it comes through, and when it leaves, it affects everything, And so it was like 10,000 people a day or something. I don't know. I forget.
Yeah, it's 10,000 a day on average are turning 65, but really the biggest, fastest growing demographic is the super seniors, 85. 4,000 people a day are turning 85 years old. That's 1.4 million people a year. Hundreds of thousands of them will end up needing assisted living, and there's not any room in the inn. So there's a crisis on one side, which gives an opportunity on the other side, and is here for the next 20 years.
Here's a good one. Talk to me about someone who's over saying, I don't have any money. I certainly can't afford to do this. Tell me about that.
You know, my very first deal when I was 18 years old was no money down. Why? Because I had no money, no credit, no clue. My very first residential assisted living business and home, real estate and business, was no money down. Why? Because I had the knowledge. It wasn't a money issue, it was I know how to do it with other people's money. So the biggest, somebody asked me the other day, Mitch, they said, if you had $25,000, what would you do? I'd said, you'd invest in your education. You learn what to do and what not to do, where to do it, when not to do it. The money, there's so many people out there with money that don't have the time, energy, inclination to do it. They need you more than you need them. So don't talk to me about I don't have money. What you don't have is the knowledge and the confidence to do it. Once you got that, the money is, there's trillions of dollars sitting on the sideline right now.
Yeah. It's the consummate businessman or the guy who can write a great contract and get a great deal. That's the guy that finds the money. It's about the deal. It's about the transaction. I like to tell people Charles Manson should have been able to raise money for some of the deals I have. You know, it didn't. How many people he murdered? Someone's going to give him a loan. It's just that good.
That's your go-to line, huh? Charles Manson.
It's a really bad analogy, but I guarantee you won't forget it.
Oh, you're right. I won't, Mitch. And I'll attribute it to you. So it's all good.
Yes. Manson said, hey, Warden, I need to borrow $50,000. He says, Manson, I'm not going to loan you any money. He says, but I got a $200,000 house. I'll give you a first lien on it. If I don't pay you, you can have my $200,000 house. And so the warden hits the little button, sends the speakers all through the deals. Guards, bring Manson to the office. Just don't give him a pencil till your guns are drawn. All right, man. Go ahead.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, you get demented after a while in this business. Hey, this is Mitch Stephen with the 1000houses.com podcast. I'm having fun here with Gene. I'm getting loopy. I've done so many podcasts today. So go ahead and get your book, Blueprint, and check it out, man. Like, if you don't know where to start and this sounds interesting to you, it's worth a look. I mean, the guy's going to give you the book for free. I don't know what he's going to tell you, how he does it, get you fired up, give you enough information to at least figure out if it's for you or not, but don't, like I said, don't shoot yourself out of the saddle before you even start.
That's the silver tsunami coming your way. It's like seeing a stock chart 10 years in advance. When you talk about seniors, they're coming. You cannot stop it. That's why I call it the silver tsunami of seniors.
Silver tsunami of seniors. That sounds like a song.
I think you're going to write it later. You got the first lyrics, so.
There you go. All right. I want to thank livecom.com for being a sponsor. Please go to livecom.com. That's LIVECOMM. Check it out. There's a reason why my properties last 9 days on the market and I average 12% down on my seller finance homes. It's just a great way to find out who's interested in your product and then stay in touch with them. It's wonderful. Go watch the video on the homepage. It'll explain everything. If you're not even sure what I'm talking about, then you need to go for sure, because it works for all kinds of businesses. It works, it should work. What kind of business wouldn't want the cell phone number of everyone that called them? What business wouldn't want the cell phone number of every customer that ever called their sign or called them out of the yellow page? Because they can text them for 2 cents a piece. They've already raised their hand and said, I'm interested in what you got. So now for 2 cents, you can not waste any more money trying to sift through people. You just pay 2 cents and send the text right to the person that raised their hand. So check it out, livecom.com. All right, Gene, I want to thank you so much. I hope you get a lot of people. I hope you send out a lot of books, and I'm pretty sure you will. So are these digital books or hard copy books?
We're going to give them the download of that. And if they want to get the hard copy, we can figure that out too.
Yeah. It's much easier to get it digitally.
Sure.
That's good. It's instantaneous. That means you sign up, you go there, go over to 1000houses.com/RAL and put in your information. And you're going to have a book in a few minutes, or a few seconds. So,
exactly.
All right. That's cool. Thanks a lot, Gene. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Mitch.
All right. I love your, what is it? Your aura. You seem like a super great person. You're doing some good stuff out there. So.
Thank you. You and I are a lot alike. We're the same age, both drummers, because I play drums too. Yeah. And I've written some songs, but I can't say I do it even to this day, but keep doing that. As well as I, you get a couple of songs out there, my goodness, you'll get checks forever.
Oh yeah. the greatest job in the world. If you can get a cut, you get paid to turn on the radio every morning. So if you're interested, MitchStephenMusic.com, and my last name is Stephen. I've written hundreds of songs over there, and I'm on, I don't know, Reverb Nation and a couple other places. But anyways, you know, if it sounds like it was written 30 years ago, probably was. So just keep going. I get better as it goes along. So.
And some of the best music, you know, as well as I, was written many years ago. I listen to it all the time. So
3 chords and the truth. There you go. All right, man. We're out of here. See you guys.
Thanks, see ya.
I hope you enjoyed this interview with Gene Guarino about assisted living. I hope you understand what a huge demand it is and that it does present an opportunity for the right person. Now, I'd also like to give away a free ebook from taxfreefuture.com. All you have to do is go to taxfreefuture.com/free-ebook and get your ebook on exactly how to self-direct your retirement funds and have checkbook control. There's some 37 videos that you can tune into also. They're little video vignettes, short and sweet, that'll show you so many super duper things you can do with these self-directed retirement plans. You might not think there's a lot to do about it, but I know differently. I once paid $3,000 to learn what I'm fixing to show you in these little video vignettes, and it was worth every penny. So check it out, taxfreefuture.com/free-ebook.